Hey there, rockers and rollers. So glad you could stop by. This episode, we dive into an album I haven't listened to in quite a number of years. And thanks to subscriber Pepper Hamill's request, it is now back in rotation. I forgot how good this album is, as well as humorous. Actually, the 6'8" gentle goth metal giant of a songwriter who wrote it had more than his fair share of controversy while he was in the limelight, which led to the lyrics of some of the songs. Stick around as we get to know Petros Tomas Ratajic, more commonly known as Peter Steele, and his band we casually referred to as the Drab Four. Type O Negative on Don't Miss Albums. Peter Steele was born in the early 60s in Brooklyn, New York as the only boy of 6 children, with Peter being the youngest child. He was raised in the Bensonhurst and Brighton Beach neighborhoods of Brooklyn and started taking guitar lessons at age 12, before moving on to the bass 6 months later. Though Steele was naturally left-handed, he played right-handed bass guitars throughout his career. This came about when one of his earliest bands, Aggression, for which Steele played left-handed rhythm guitar, threatened to kick him out unless he switched to bass guitar. As a left-handed bass guitar proved to be too expensive at the time, Steele purchased a right-handed bass and taught himself how to play it. Steele worked for the New York City Department of Parks and Recreation until he began touring with Type O Negative in the summer of 1994. He was based at Brooklyn Heights Promenade, where his job involved park maintenance, driving vehicles including garbage trucks and steamrollers, and eventually the promotion to the role of park supervisor. Peter considered his days working for the Parks Department to be among his happiest and forever regretted leaving the job to go on tour with Type O Negative. In 1979, Steele formed the heavy metal band Fallout.
She fell down the stairs and I heard her neck crack. She went. Ran down quick, I dropped to weak knees, but she's dead.
In 1982, after the split of Fallout, Steele formed the thrash metal band Carnivore. With Carnivore, Steele's lyrics were often harsh, dealing with religion, war, race, and misogyny. Carnivore released their debut self-titled album in 1985. In 1986, Steele wrote lyrics for several songs on hardcore punk band Agnostic Front's second album, Cause for Alarm. In 1987, Carnivore released Retaliation before splitting up later that year. Peter formed what we now know as Type O Negative in 1989, along with his childhood friends Josh Silver, Kenny Hickey, and Sal Abrascato. The band originally used the name Repulsion, but had to change it in 1990 due to the legal issues with the American grindcore band of the same name. The band then used the name Sub-Zero. Steele had a tattoo in mind of a minus sign contained within the number 0 that he originally intended to represent the Sub-Zero band logo. After discovering that another band was already using the Sub-Zero name, and with his tattoo in mind, Steele came up with the name Type O Negative after hearing a radio advertisement requesting donations of Type O Negative blood. When Type O Negative signed with Roadrunner Records, Steele signed his recording contract with a mixture of Suave hair conditioner and chocolate syrup mixed with food dye, contrary to popular belief that it was his own blood and semen. Type O Negative's debut album, Slow, Deep, and Hard, was released in 1991. album incorporated the thrash elements of Carnivore merged with doom metal. Steele had written the music in the space of one night in the aftermath of a relationship breakup, and this was reflected in the lyrical topics of heartbreak, fantasies of revenge, and the contemplation of suicide, something Steele had himself attempted. Steele caused some controversy when touring in Europe to support Slow, Deep, and Hard, thanks to rumors about his social and political views, with some critics going so far as to brand him a Nazi sympathizer, even though his bandmate Josh Silver is Jewish. Steele suggested that the European press had misunderstood his humor, and that his sarcasm was sometimes lost in translation to print. The Germans were canceling shows up and down the line, Hickey recalled. They were breaking windows on the bus. There were threats of riots, and we couldn't walk the streets. Holland banned Typo outright. Not for our views, but because they feared for public safety, Silver explained. It got real out of hand. I think we did about 3 shows, and the rest got canceled. Peter was so pissed off he flew home. The rest of us stayed because that's just the kind of assholes we are. You can't do sarcasm in Europe, he added. They're translating lyrics literally. They don't get the twist, the spoof. In 1992, Typo Negative released the live album, The Origin of the Feces. The album included a fictitious hostile audience and an evacuation of the venue after a bomb threat had supposedly been called in. This simulated some of the real-life response Steele and Typo Negative had recently received while on tour in Europe. The original album cover featured a close-up shot of Steele's anus. In 1993, Typo Negative released its breakthrough album, Bloody Kisses. The album focused primarily on romance, love, sex, and death. Considered a standout album in the gothic metal genre, Bloody Kisses is saturated with complex patterns of sound, with content concerning sexual symbolism and humor. The album contains a cover version of Seals and Crofts' song Summer Breeze. Originally, Typo Negative's version was going to be called Summer Girl with different lyrics, but they made a normal cover after Seals and Crofts found the lyrics to Summer Girl distasteful. The noise interludes on the album constitute one seamless composition when played one after another. Roadrunner Records issued an alternate version of the album in a digipack later in 1993. The digipack reissue featured alternate artwork and an alternate track listing. The running order was changed, and 2 tracks, the intro, and all of the soundscape interludes were removed and were replaced with a previously unreleased track from the recording sessions. This reissue and the associated changes were made at the request of songwriter Peter Steele. In this listener's opinion, skip the reissue. The unreleased track is somewhat boring, and I didn't find the album to flow as smoothly as the original release. The strange noise interludes add texture and emotion to very personal songs. The humor in the songs, Kill All the White People and We Hate Everyone, dealt directly with the band's rumored racist ideology and served to erode any such accusations. Stick with the original release. Bloody Kisses received mostly positive reviews. Steve Huey of AllMusic gave the album a 4.5 out of 5 and wrote that, though it sounds like a funeral, Bloody Kisses' airy melodicism and 90s-style irony actually breathed new life into the flagging goth metal genre. Rock Hard gave the album a 10 out of 10 rating. In 2005, Bloody Kisses was ranked number 365 in Rock Hard's book of the 500 greatest rock and metal albums of all time. Loudwire called Bloody Kisses the best album of 1993, in addition to ranking it at number 42 on its top 90 hard rock and heavy metal albums of the 90s. Rolling Stone placed Bloody Kisses at number 53 on its top 100 greatest heavy metal albums of all time list, even though they gave the album a 2 out of 5 star review when it was first released. The album was produced by Peter Steele and Josh Silver. Peter has produced many of his own albums for Typo Negative, Carnivore, and his solo compositions by the name of Steele. Josh has produced music for Maximum Penalty, Life of Agony, Pissed On, and Sheer Terror. The album was mastered by George Marino of Sterling Sound. George has mastered albums for AC/DC, Led Zeppelin, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Dio, Journey, Kiss, Motley Crue, Iron Maiden, Jimi Hendrix, Joe Satriani, Alice Cooper, Bob Dylan, Elvis Presley, and Ozzy Osbourne. Design concept is credited to Peter Steele. Photography, front cover, group, credit goes to John Wadsworth. John has multiple credits with Typo Negative, as well as with Steve Roach. Jeff Kitts gets photography individuals credit. Jeff is an editor for Guitar World magazine and has other visual credits from bands Blood Feast, Nonfiction, and Obituary. Patricia Mooney gets credit for artwork, execution, and development. Patty has also worked with Dag Nasty, Rest in Pieces, Deicide, Sepultura, Skin Chamber, and Motorhead. Peter Steele is credited with the album's composition as well as decomposition. Verdigris Phlogiston is credited as conductor, Brooklyn Philharmonic Orchestra. Paul Bento is credited for sitar and tambura. Paul has also worked with bands Worm Food, Carnivore, and Sunlord. Bonnie Weiss, Chris Zamp, Debbie Alter, Karen Rose, Mike Palmieri, Erasmus High School Boys Special Ed, which is Alan Robert, Joey Zampella, and Keith Caputo, the Bensonhurst Lesbian Choir, who appear to be the band in drag, and the Brooklyn Philharmonic Orchestra all get credit on the album for additional vocals. Alan, Joey, and Keith are all members of the group Life of Agony, and Alan is also the frontman for Spoiler NYC. Peter Steele, lead vocals, bass guitar. Kenny Hickey, guitar, backing vocals. Josh Silver, keyboard, synthesizer, effects and programming, backing vocals. Sal Abruscato, drums, percussion. The album starts off with a rather sensual-sounding woman, appearing to enjoy the sights, sounds, and feelings of industry. This is the initial start of the noise composition called Machine School. Christian Woman is the first vocal track on the album as well as a single. Steele would once confess the song is inspired by a real woman he was once romantically involved with. The production quality on this song and throughout the album is superb. There's just enough wet in the mix that you can hear his lips part when he sings.
The cross upon her bedroom wall, from grace she will fall. An image burning in her mind, she knows she must hide.
The hilariously popular single Black No. 1, Little Miss Scarall, makes its way on the album at track number 3. The lyrics sarcastically detail a relationship with a woman involved with the goth subculture, loosely based around a relationship Steele was once in, and is said to have been written by lead singer Peter Steele while driving a garbage truck. The walking bass line and Munsters-esque keyboard stabs really punctuate the deep, salivating vocals, and the song only gets better.
She's in love with herself. She likes the dark. And on her milk white neck, the devil's mark. Now it's All Hallows Eve. The moon is full. Will she trick or treat? I'll bet she will. She's got a daylight speedlight with nose for out too.
The noise composition continues here with track 4's Fay Ray Come Out and Play, which is an obvious toying at King Kong. Track 5 is the band's first response to racist accusations by the press. Kill all the white people. It pretty much speaks for itself. Oh, watch the neck sprain on this one. The drop-down tunings and slower pace of Seals and Crofts' Summer Breeze comes in at number 6. This cover is what I like to consider the gateway song to Type O Negative. No heroin included on this ride. Set Me on Fire's tribalistic continuance of Summer Breeze at number 7 is phenomenal and a must-hear headphones composition. Track 8 is the continuation of the noise compilation entitled Dark Side of the Womb. Track 9 is the next response to the Shit Talkers, We Hate Everyone.
Right wing commies, leftist Nazis, point their fingers, rumors later. We don't care what you think. We
Bloody Kisses, A Death in the Family, comes in at number 10. This haunting tune has this air of foreboding about it, and Peter has to say of writing it, no one wants to hear a guy who's 6'8" with long black hair and fangs crying about his fucking cat, so I had to make it extremely metaphorical, as it was apparently written in remembrance of his longtime pet, Venus, passing away. Track 11 is another continuation to the Noise compilation called 30IF. Too Late, Frozen is stuck at track number 12. The Beatlesque pop elements of this song creates this weird funeral at a dance club vibe, and it's cool as hell. Just don't trip over your own cake.
Too late for apologies.
Track number 13 is Blood and Fire. I think this is probably the weakest song on the album. It kind of comes off 80s to me, but it does its job of continuing the album on. Can't Lose You closes the album out at track number 14 with Peter begging not to lose you, while the Beatles-esque sitar plays behind. It's a pleasant way to say goodbye. In order to promote the album, Type O Negative embarked on a 2-year world tour with bands Danzig, Motley Crue, King's X, and Nine Inch Nails. In the midst of this newfound fame, drummer Sal Abruscato quit the band to join the other Brooklyn quartet, Life of Agony. Johnny Kelly, the band's drum technician, was therefore hired as a full-fledged member. Following the success of Bloody Kisses, Steele began to receive attention outside of music and agreed to appear as a nude centerfold of Playgirl in 1995. Steele later found out, via bandmate Kenny Hickey's contacts, that only 23% of the magazine subscribers were female, and after being asked by men to sign copies of the magazine, Steele somewhat regretted the decision. After I did it, I thought, oh my God, what did I do? It was more than upsetting that so many guys had it. Girls, okay, but there just seemed to be at least as many guys. Not that I'm homophobic, but it was certainly irritating. In a 2007 interview, Steele reflected on the posing as merely a naive publicity stunt. October Rust was released in 1996 and picked up right where Bloody Kisses left off, exploring themes of sex, nature, and sensuality, first in a humorous sense on the single My Girlfriend's Girlfriend, and then taken much darker with Love You to Death. This record also saw a cover of Neil Young's Cinnamon Girl, as well as a fan favorite, Semi-Serene Green Man. While not quite as successful as Bloody Kisses, the album was certified gold in the US and was the first Type O Negative album to enter the top half of the Billboard Top 200, debuting at number 42. With the completion of another successful world tour, writing for a fifth album began in the period immediately following the release of October Rust, resulting in 1999's World Coming Down. World Coming Down debuted at number 39 on the Billboard Top 200 charts. It featured a much darker, bleaker tone than its predecessors, having been written after a series of deaths in frontman Peter Steele's family. The Best Of album followed in 2000, entitled The Least Worst of Type O Negative. Although most songs appear on previous albums, many are unreleased remixes or B-sides of previously released singles. Along with these songs are some unreleased numbers from the World Coming Down sessions, the band's cover of Black Sabbath by Black Sabbath, Peter Steele's version with different lyrics written from the perspective of Satan, and a cleaner version of Hey Pete, originally released on the Mock Live album The Origin of the Feces. Type O Negative's sixth studio album, Life Is Killing Me, was released in 2003. For this album, the band picked up the pace of their sound from the dirgeful slowness of World Coming Down. Songs such as Todd Ship Gods, Above All Things, We Were Electrocute, and I Don't Wanna Be Me convey the band's classic elements of melody, though the song's lengths were much shorter on this outing. The longest being the 7.5-minute How Could She, a list of female character names from television shows. The album includes a humorous cover of the song Angry Inch from the musical Hedwig and the Angry Inch, detailing a sex change operation gone terribly wrong. Type O Negative left Roadrunner after the album's release, having fulfilled their contract for the label. In June 2004, Type O Negative signed to the Steamhammer imprint of SPV Records. During 2005, Steele disappeared for an extended period with no explanation. Rumors of his death, terminal illness, and other speculations increased until the mystery was dispelled in an interview on the 2006 DVD Symphony for the Devil. In the interview, Steele briefly mentions his incarceration in Rikers Island and the psych ward at Kings County Hospital. Steele's family members had staged an intervention and insisted he check into a mental institution. Steele later confirmed he had been suffering from paranoia caused by his heavy substance abuse. Steele had been using cocaine since the age of 35, a decision in which he expressed great regret. Steele then attended rehab for cocaine dependence and alcoholism, and later served a 30-day prison term for assaulting a love rival. Steele made light of his incarceration by wearing a prison uniform on stage during live performances. Type O Negative would release only one album for Steamhammer, Dead Again, in 2007. Dead Again debuted at number 27 in the US, the band's highest chart debut to date. They also continued to tour through October of that year, including a performance at the Rock am Ring Festival in Germany. On April 14, 2010, frontman and bassist Peter Steele passed away, reportedly from heart failure. The cause of death was later reported to be sepsis, caused by diverticulitis. In a November 2010 interview with Rock Hard magazine, Johnny Kelly and Kelly Hickey confirmed that following Steele's death, Type O Negative had split up. Roadrunner Records released a box set of all of the band's albums, with the exception of Dead Again, for Back to Black Friday 2011, a spin-off of Record Store Day, on November 25, 2011. Each vinyl cover has no text, and the Origin of the Feces uses its original cover art. The box set also contains various bumper stickers related to the band. Well, there you have it, rockers and rollers. Another episode, another album. I hope you learned something new about Type O Negative that you didn't know, or maybe you didn't even know who Type O Negative was. Yet another rock band's career cut short. No one can really say if the substance abuse was a leading contributor to Peter's death, but he may still be alive today had he remained working for the parts department at Brooklyn Heights Promenade. I will forever be grateful for the music he has given the world, and I can only hope to one day see the gothy green giant performing Hey Pete with Jimi Hendrix on a cloud made of black wings. Ha! Now that's an image. Thanks again to Pepper Hamill for the knock on the noggin. If you have an album that you think has got to be heard from front to back at least once in our lives, let me know in the comments. You might be the reason for the next episode. Alright, enough sniveling on my part. You know what to do. Remember, turn it up so the neighbors can enjoy it too. We'll see you next time. Take care.